This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
BFM 89.9, I'm Annabelle Cole-Martinent, and again, it's time for Careers Anew, where we speak to people with unusual careers. Food unites people from all walks of life and cultures. So how do you find good food in today's modern world? Well, through a food blog, of course. This week in Careers Unusual, we have with us Monica Tindall, a food blogger. Monica, how did you get started as a food blogger?
Oh, hi, Annabelle. It's actually it's quite a long story, and I think it started way before blogging even existed. I grew up in a tiny little country town in Australia, and I grew up passionate about food. I grew up in a little village where we grew most of our own fruits and vegetables, and if we didn't grow them, our neighbors grew them. I remember growing up and I could tell which tree a peach had come from, and my father killed all of our own meat, and I remember sitting around the dinner table listening to conversations about which lamb this animal had, which field this lamb had grazed in, because you could tell from the taste of meat. So I grew up with a real connection to food. And also we lived 100 kilometers away from the nearest supermarket. So my mother cooked everything from scratch. So I feel that my childhood, I grew up with a taste for real food and a passion for food. And then moving into my adult life, the last 16 years, I've been working and traveling around the world. And, experiencing international cuisine. And that's one of my favorite things to do when I travel. And I often plan my travel about where I'm going to eat, and then we just see the sights on the way. They're kind of secondary to the food spot.
Oh, you sound like a Malaysian.
Oh, yes, I know. I fitted very well here. So I've been living in Malaysia for the past 9 years, and very well connected with the expatriate community. Both my husband and I work here in the expat community, and we have there's this online bulletin system, and there's this constant chitter-chatter about food. People will post things like, well, you're celebrating hubby's 40th birthday, which restaurant to celebrate in, or going out for drinks with the girls, where do we go, high tea with mom. And so what I did for the yumlist.blogspot.com is decided to take all of that chitter-chatter and put it into one space to create one resource for expatriates. So not only is it a place of now, it's expanding quickly, but it's a place where expatriates, and lots of locals too, but I do write from an expatriate perspective. I have those type of taste buds, I guess, where they can go and find yummy spots. And I don't write about anything that's average or not good, so it's really a quick resource for people to go and say, oh, this is good. And sometimes I won't write about the entire restaurant. I'll just write about one single dish. Go to this restaurant, just eat this dish. It's so amazing. It's really a collation of the online chitter-chatter that was going on previously.
Okay, you mentioned that you saw all the chitter-chatter and you sort of tried to put it into one source, one place, so that it's easier for people to find, and hence your food blogging. How long have you been doing this?
Okay, it's really quite new. I'm still learning. Every day I learn something new. It's incredible. So about a year. I've been doing it for a little bit over a year, and probably about the last 6 months been taking it a little bit more seriously and posting most days, and doing a little bit more research about what it means to be a blogger. Yeah.
Oh, and are you doing this full-time?
No, I'm not quite ready to give up my full-time job yet. But I'm in the early stages, but it's developing very fast, and at the moment it seems like a full-time job, because I go to work during the day and then at night I'm out, and the weekends I'm writing. So it's not quite ready to give up my day job, but it's moving there quickly.
There are, in fact, quite a number of food bloggers out there. What sets you apart? I mean, is there something special and something different that you cover?
Right. See, I think that's a key thing for a food blogger, because, as you say, Malaysians love their food and everybody loves to take photos and post it. I think the best blogs out there are really the ones that have their own niche, or they have their own angle. So as I mentioned before, I am an expatriate, so I think I approach food in a different manner than perhaps local bloggers would. And I read all of the local blogs because I need to, get the information on where all the good places are. But I think the yumlist.blogspot.com many of the readers are expatriates, and they're looking for something that's a little bit different. They're overseas. They're excited to be here. They want to experiment and explore, go on an adventure while they're here. So they want to try all the local food, but they don't want anything that's too exotic or that's going to, leave them with a tummy ache for 3 days.
Yes.
So they want to try the local foods, but they also want their home foods. They want their comfort foods, so they're looking for their Western food. And also, when they're overseas, you have this little sense of adventure. It's almost like they do work hard, but it is almost like you're on a few years long holiday because you're in a new place. So they want to wine and dine as well. So they like their champagne brunches and their wine-paired dinners. That being said, so there's also another little aspect of the yumlist.blogspot.com, and that is, personally, I have a passion for doing good, helping the earth, helping the environment. So I do give preference to places that are socially responsible, and it might be in the form of selling organic food or sourcing local, sustainable produce, involved in some type of education program. So there is that little twist to it as well. Do good.
And that is, in fact, very relevant today. I think more and more people are also conscious about what they eat, not just expatriates, but Asians in particular.
Yes, and it's exciting. It's very exciting to see in Malaysia that there are quite a number of new places popping up that are really doing their bit to try and source local food that's organic, that's sustainable. There's starting to be more awareness about recycling, starting to be more awareness about not eating shark's fin soup and endangered animals and things like that. It's growing awareness. We're not quite there yet, but it's exciting to see the changes happening.
What are the typical tools a food blogger must have at all times? I'm curious. Is the typical smartphone enough nowadays?
Well, there are some people out there that really do an amazing job at taking photos on their phones. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still learning to photograph and getting better and better every day. So I use my camera, and I have a smartphone, and so that's generally I take my notes on my smartphone, or sometimes I'm starting to carry around my laptop now as well to be a little bit more time efficient. I'm typing directly onto the laptop and taking the photos. Yeah.
And how fast do you need to do the review? I mean, after, let's say, tasting the restaurant, tasting the food at the restaurant, how soon do you need to do the write-up before you sort of forget some of the details?
Yeah, I try and get all of my primary notes done on that night, so that I try and take very detailed notes so that I can come back to it in a few days or a couple of weeks. It really all depends on how much of a backlog I have. And I generally, because I'm usually out most nights, and then on weekends, especially if I'm doing hotels where you might have 3 different restaurants in the hotels, and I'm posting once a day, but sometimes right now I have probably 20 posts that I need to write up. So I've got the content. So yeah, I guess the key is keeping detailed notes, and always the photos are great reminders as well of the food. However, if it's a special promotion, a hotel's only having a deal for 2 weeks, I'll try and get it written up as fast as I can so that people can take advantage of their Venezuelan food or the Persian food or whatever they're promoting for those couple of weeks.
Speaking about reviews, does it mean that your reviews only have good stuff to say? And what happens if you did have let's say, an incident or something not too good at that restaurant?
Oh, that's a great question. That is a great question. And that's probably one of the hardest, the challenging things, or the most sensitive things. I try and be very upfront with restaurants and let them know that the yumlist.blogspot.com is primarily just for, as the name suggests, just yummy food. So if I write about it, I'm recommending it, and to maintain integrity of my site, I'm not going to write about something that I don't enjoy, I don't think's up to standard. So I try and be very upfront about that and say, look, there's a potential for you to be on the website, but if I don't think it's something that my readers would go for, I'm not going to be writing about you. Yeah, and so it is a little bit uncomfortable saying that, but in general, I try and visit places where I've got good recommendations for. So, again, that online chitter-chatter, I get lots of emails every day from people saying, have you tried this place? It's got fantastic such and such, or have you tried this place? The wine list is awesome. So I try and get a few recommendations rather than just going in cold to a place too.
Let's go to something more personal. We'd like to know more about you. What is a typical day like for a food blogger like you?
Oh, okay. It's quite busy. Now, as I said, I work here in the expatriate community. I do work full-time. Okay, my day. I get up at 6 a.m. I usually rush out the door at 6:20, and I'm at work by about 6:30, 6:45. I spend the day at work, then I come home. I'm usually home by about 5. I hit the gym or go for a run. That's very important as a food blogger to keep fit.
Yes.
I'm going to work off all those calories. Shower, and then I'm usually out the door again by 6:37 to go and review a restaurant or go to an event. And that will take me till 10, 11 at night. Then I've got to get back in bed for my 6 a.m. start the next day. And then on the weekends, I'm generally up and writing and uploading photos, editing photos, and doing my write-ups mostly on the weekends. I try and get ahead so that I can have a post every day for the week.
And what gives you the greatest satisfaction in what you do today?
As I said, I do like to, I love food. I love going around and talking to the chefs, and, that's so much fun, finding out all about the new cuisine and talking with people who have similar passion to you. But also I do like to promote places that are socially responsible. So I do like to help, the little smaller businesses that are trying to make a difference, that are trying to do something good and might not necessarily have the marketing tools that a bigger restaurant does or a hotel does. And so I like to get the word out to those smaller businesses that are just starting.
What are the perks of being a food blogger? You mentioned earlier you've been doing this for a year, and so far, how has the experience been so far? What are the good stuff that came along with it?
Well, one thing is I know where to eat. No, I get lots of recommendations. People send me all their favorite places. And also I get to try lots of food. I get invited to all the events and get to know what's happening. And I love talking to the chefs and learning more about food. So I guess they're the real perks of being a food blogger.
What was the most memorable moment that you've had so far as a food blogger?
Oh, there are so many good things out there. But probably going back to my eco-friendly preferences, I did have an amazing experience in Bali. There's a little town called Ubud. It's a little artistic village up there. And there's a spectacular organic restaurant. And to get to it, you have to walk through the rice fields, and then you go and it's a house on stilts. And they prepare all organic food that they've picked fresh from their garden. You can even go to their veggie garden, pick your own vegetables, and they'll cook them there for you on site. And it was just a very, very nice feel and being in tune with the earth. And that's something pretty special.
And it sounds like they made you work up the appetite before they served it. Okay, I understand you are also the worldwide editor for the Yum List. Can you tell us more about that?
Right. So as I mentioned before, mostly it does cover most of Malaysia because I'm based here in Malaysia, obviously. But expatriates that are here, they love to travel, they love to explore the region, and so we take advantage of every vacation we have. Every long weekend, we're out the door, and of course, with AirAsia, it makes things very easy. So part of that online chitter-chat was not only restaurants, but going to Bali, going to Vietnam, going to Bangkok for the weekend or for 5 days. Where do I stay? Where do I eat? They're the two biggest questions that expats ask. So there's lots of international travel on there as well. And there are expatriates around the world also that are very happy to post their favorite places when they're traveling. So while I do most of the writing and a lot of the travel part is my writing, I do have guest contributors as well from around the world.
I've been speaking to Monica Tindall, a food blogger in Careers Unusual, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.